There is a growing sense around Las Vegas that this offseason is not just about filling another vacancy on the sideline, but about defining the future direction of the franchise. The Raiders are sitting in a rare position of power, holding the #1 overall pick and staring directly at the opportunity to secure a quarterback who could reshape everything. When a moment like this arrives, every decision becomes amplified, especially the choice of who will be responsible for guiding that young talent from day one. That is why the conversation around the next head coach cannot be treated like business as usual. One name continues to surface, not because of rumor chasing or fan hype, but because of logic tied directly to the quarterback at the center of the Raiders' plans. Curt Senetti has become impossible to ignore. This is not about assuming he is walking away from Indiana, and it is not about believing a deal is realistic or imminent. It is about understanding process. If the Raiders are serious about selecting Fernando Mendoza with the top pick, then it would be irresponsible not to at least seek out the man who helped shape the best version of him at the college level. There is a tendency in the NFL to treat coaching searches as isolated from draft strategy, but the smartest organizations know those paths must intersect. Quarterbacks do not develop in a vacuum. Scheme, structure, daily habits, and psychological preparation all matter. Mendoza did not just improve statistically at Indiana. He evolved as a decision-maker, a leader, and a competitor. That transformation did not happen by accident. It came through a system designed to challenge him, refine him, and put him in situations where he had to grow or fail. Senetti's influence shows up most clearly when you compare Mendoza's earlier tape to what he became under his guidance. The footwork is cleaner, the timing sharper, and the processing speed noticeably faster. More than that, there's an edge to how Mendoza plays late in games, when pressure rises and the margin for error disappears. Those moments reveal the mental work that happens away from the cameras. The Raiders, more than any other team in this draft, need to understand exactly how that development was achieved. This is why the idea of simply ignoring Senetti because he is unlikely to leave college football misses the point entirely. An interview does not have to mean an offer. A conversation does not have to lead to a contract. Sometimes the most valuable part is sitting across the table and listening, learning how a coach thinks, how he teaches, how he builds trust with his quarterback, and how he structures an offense around strengths instead of forcing a rigid system. Senetti has built a reputation for adapting his approach to the player, not the other way around. He identified what Mendoza did well early, then slowly expanded his responsibilities as his understanding deepened. That patience is rare. Too often, young quarterbacks are overwhelmed with information, asked to master everything at once, and blamed when growth stalls. Mendoza's trajectory suggests a different philosophy, one rooted in clarity and progression rather than overload. The Raiders have struggled for years to align their coaching hires with their quarterback plans. Too many resets, too many mismatched visions, and too many wasted seasons have followed. This time, the stakes are higher. A first overall pick does not come around often, and when it does, it demands a level of diligence that goes beyond surface-level evaluations. Bringing in a coach who knows Mendoza inside and out, even briefly, could provide insights no scouting report ever could. Senetti's broader resume only strengthens the argument. Everywhere he has gone, programs have become more disciplined, more competitive, and more resilient. Indiana's rise did not happen because they suddenly out-recruited everyone around them. It happened because the team played with structure, confidence, and purpose. That speaks to coaching, preparation, and belief. Traits like that translate, regardless of level. Another layer that makes this discussion so compelling is Senetti's understanding of accountability. His teams play with urgency because expectations are clear. Players know what is required of them, and excuses are not tolerated. For a young quarterback stepping into the spotlight of the NFL, that kind of environment can be grounding. It creates stability amid chaos, something the Raiders have lacked for far too long. When Mendoza speaks about his growth, it is never framed as individual achievement alone. He consistently points back to coaching, communication, and trust. That relationship matters. The Raiders cannot assume they can replicate those results simply by drafting the player and assigning him to a new staff with a completely different philosophy. At the very least, they owe it to themselves to study the blueprint that worked. This is not about guaranteeing success. No coach or quarterback comes with that promise. It is about reducing risk through understanding. The Raiders have already cast a wide net in their search, exploring candidates with vastly different backgrounds and philosophies. Within that context, excluding the coach most closely tied to their potential franchise quarterback would make little sense. Even if Senetti ultimately stays where he is, the act of engaging with him sends a message. It signals that the organization is thinking holistically, that it values quarterback development as much as quarterback selection, and that it is willing to learn from success wherever it exists. Those are the kinds of habits that separate reactive franchises from proactive ones. The Raiders are standing at a crossroads, and the decisions made now will echo for years. Drafting Mendoza would be a statement of belief in his talent and his mindset. Pairing that decision with curiosity about the coach who helped unlock that potential would be a statement of intelligence. This moment is too important to rely on assumptions or shortcuts. The Raiders have to explore every angle, and Curt Senetti remains one of the most important angles of all. Looking deeper into why this situation feels different, it becomes clear that the Raiders are not just evaluating a coach or a quarterback in isolation, but the connection between the two. That connection is often the missing link in rebuilds that never quite take off. When a quarterback enters the league, his early environment can either accelerate his growth or quietly sabotage it. The Raiders cannot afford another scenario where talent is drafted high and then left searching for stability. What stands out about Curt Senetti is his ability to meet a quarterback where he is and then steadily raise the standard. Fernando Mendoza did not arrive as a finished product, and he was never treated like one. He was challenged without being exposed, corrected without being discouraged, and trusted without being coddled. That balance is extremely difficult to achieve, especially in a results-driven sport where patience is often viewed as weakness. Yet that approach is exactly what allowed Mendoza to grow into a player who thrives when the stakes are highest. There is also a competitive edge to Senetti's teams that mirrors the identity the Raiders have long claimed but rarely sustained. His players do not rely on overwhelming talent advantages. They rely on preparation, belief, and execution. They understand situations, manage momentum, and respond when adversity hits. Those traits show up most clearly late in games, when composure becomes more valuable than raw athleticism. Mendoza's best moments often come in those exact scenarios, and that is not a coincidence. For the Raiders, the biggest question is not whether Mendoza can throw the ball at an elite level, but whether he can consistently lead an offense through the inevitable chaos of the NFL. Pressure, criticism, hostile environments, and constant change test quarterbacks in ways college football never can. The mental framework built during his development matters just as much as arm strength or accuracy. Understanding how that framework was installed is information the Raiders should want at all costs. This is where the conversation shifts from admiration to strategy. Even if hiring Senetti remains a long shot, gaining access to his perspective could shape every other decision the organization makes. It could influence which offensive coordinator is hired, what terminology is used, how practices are structured, and how early expectations are communicated to Mendoza. These details seem small on the surface, but they compound over time. Another factor that cannot be ignored is age and timing. Senetti is not a coach chasing endless reinvention. He operates with clarity, efficiency, and purpose. That could be appealing to an NFL organization seeking immediate structure rather than a long, experimental phase. His approach suggests someone who knows exactly what he believes in and why, which can bring instant direction to a locker room searching for identity. The Raiders have already explored a wide range of coaching profiles, from young innovators to experienced veterans. That diversity of interviews suggests an openness to ideas, but openness must be paired with coherence. Whoever leads this team next must align with the quarterback they plan to build around. If that alignment does not exist, no amount of talent will compensate for the disconnect. Senetti's success with Mendoza provides a clear reference point for what alignment looks like. There's also symbolic value in pursuing this conversation. It shows confidence. It tells the league that the Raiders are willing to think differently, to challenge assumptions, and to prioritize development over convenience. It reinforces the idea that drafting a quarterback first overall is not a gamble, but a calculated move supported by research, dialogue, and intention. Mendoza's journey itself reinforces why this matters. He chose growth over comfort, embraced coaching over reputation, and steadily raised his level when it mattered most. Those choices reflect a mindset the Raiders should want at the center of their franchise. Surrounding that mindset with a staff that understands how to nurture it is the real challenge. The Raiders have spent years searching for a franchise quarterback and just as long searching for the right leadership to support one. Opportunities like this do not come often, and when they do, hesitation can be costly. Engaging with the coach who played a pivotal role in shaping their potential future quarterback is not a risk. Ignoring that opportunity would be. As the offseason unfolds and decisions begin to crystallize, this moment will define whether the Raiders truly learn from their past. The path forward is not just about who they draft or who they hire, but about whether those choices speak the same language. Mendoza represents possibility. Senetti represents understanding. Bringing those elements into the same room, even briefly, could be the most important step the Raiders take before the draft clock ever starts. Beyond just the technical aspects of coaching, there's an emotional and cultural component that cannot be overlooked. Senetti has built programs where players buy in completely, not because of intimidation, but because of trust and mutual respect. Mendoza thrived in that environment, learning to lead peers who might have been bigger, faster, or more experienced, and yet still earning their confidence through preparation and example. The Raiders are in desperate need of that kind of culture, one where the quarterback is not just a talent, but a leader, and the staff is aligned in supporting that leadership at every turn. Equally important is the way Senetti develops decision-making under pressure. Mendoza's ability to read defenses, adjust protections, and make split-second judgments is a skill that often separates good quarterbacks from great ones. In college, that edge was sharpened under a system designed to force responsibility while providing guidance. For an NFL team like the Raiders, replicating that developmental environment could accelerate Mendoza's transition and mitigate the mistakes that typically accompany a rookie season. Understanding that system firsthand could give the organization insights that no film study alone can provide. Finally, there's the long-term vision to consider. The Raiders are not just thinking about the next season. They're thinking about a foundation that could sustain championship contention for years. Bringing in a coach like Senetti, even for a conversation, represents a commitment to aligning every element of that foundation around the quarterback. It is about coherence, foresight, and maximizing the probability that the top draft pick reaches his ceiling. In a league where the difference between contention and mediocrity can be measured in small margins, leaving any stone unturned is a risk the Raiders cannot afford to take. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers from the Las Vegas Raiders headquarters have sent shockwaves through the NFL landscape as the team embarks on a high-stakes search for a new head coach. Sources close to the organization suggest that the franchise is leaving no stone unturned, with names like Mike VRABEL, Bill Belichick, and Brian Flores reportedly under consideration. The buzz is not just about the coaching candidates themselves, but also about the involvement of none other than Tom Brady, who, according to insiders, is playing a central role in shaping the future leadership of the team. The legendary quarterback, still one of the most influential voices in professional football, is said to be advocating for a coach who can enforce discipline and command respect, coining what some sources are calling an iron fist approach. While Brady's influence off the field is nothing new, his apparent sway over personnel decisions raises questions about the dynamics inside the Raiders' locker room and the potential direction of the franchise in the coming years. Among the rumored candidates, VRABEL brings a fiery, hands-on style from his tenure in Tennessee, known for his motivational approach and defensive acumen. BELICHICK, on the other hand, represents the ultimate strategic mind, a coach whose legacy is built on precision, adaptability, and championship pedigree. FLORES, the youngest of the three, is seen as a rising star in coaching circles, known for innovative defensive schemes and a reputation for cultivating young talent. Each offers a distinct vision, leaving fans and pundits alike to speculate which path the Raiders will choose. The relentless discipline of a seasoned veteran, the intellectual mastery of a coaching legend, or the fresh energy of an ambitious up-and-comer. The interplay between Brady's preferences and the team's broader strategy adds another layer of intrigue. Will his endorsement tip the scales? Or is this just part of the complex behind closed doors? And while no official announcements have been made, the speculation alone has ignited debate among fans, analysts, and players. One thing is clear: the Raiders are at crossroads. The next head coach will need to navigate the weight of expectations, the influence of one of football's greatest icons, and the pressure of leading a team hungry for both discipline and success. In the world of NFL rumors, few stories have stirred this much excitement and tension as the possible arrival of a new era in Las Vegas. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.